Good morning. You join us from France, Hawaii, and UK. My name's Paul. I'm the brand developer in the UK for AFS foils. We've got Richard Boudia. He's our international business manager, and we've got Eric Sturman. He's a full Hawaiian charger who's found the dark art of downwinding as well. So we're here just to discuss all things downwinding. It's going to be quite a relaxed chat between the three of us. Feel free to fire any questions in via YouTube Live. And so without any further ado, Eric, this is actually the first time we've had the pleasure of meeting. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, yeah. It was nice meeting you too, Paul, for the first time. And my name's Eric Sturman. Born and raised on the North Shore of Oahu. Basically grew up here with the ocean as my playground. And I've been fortunate enough to find this new sport that's growing that I feel like a lot of people are hesitant to get into. And I think it's the best sport in the world, and if you're healthy and physically capable, you should definitely learn it. And it's just another tool of enjoying the ocean when the conditions are different.
Perfect. Let me come back. Let me come back to one of those points you've immediately mentioned there. But Richard, please, Richard Boudia, downwind extraordinaire as well. Please introduce yourselves to those who don't know you.
Downwind enthusiastic, no doubt about it. Yeah, Richard Boudia. So I've been born and raised in France, I would say around Paris area for about my first 20 years, I would say. Then moved down to the south of France for my passion of windsurfing, then kiteboarding, then moved quite a bit into the whole my surfing journey with obviously surfing and a bit of stand-up paddling also. Then I had the chance to try out and to get the foiling bug basically around 2016 and starting downwinding around 2017. So yeah, since that been hooked on it big time. So. And we had the chance to meet each other, had the chance to meet Eric a couple of weeks ago. So we had the chance to share some good downwind runs in France recently. So yeah, fully focused on that.
How are the conditions for that trip, Eric? I saw that you were over. Did the Mistral blow for you?
Oh man, I feel like I got super lucky and timed it perfectly, but the conditions were insane, and it was definitely the fastest conditions I've ever been in. And I don't know why there's not more people knowing or going to the Mediterranean to downwind, because they call a lot of places the Mecca, but I feel like I'm calling that now the Mecca, because I was just holding on for 20 kilometers, just no pumping. It's pretty special. I haven't experienced something like that really. So it was a trip, and yeah, thank you, Richard, for showing me around, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
And it's funny you said 2016 you got into foiling, because that's when I got into foiling. And then 2017, 18, I feel like it's so hard. The years get mixed up now, but I feel like that's when I started getting into downwind foiling.
Yeah, I guess the whole timing about when we all got excited was probably from the first few footage from kite downwinding and stuff like that, So I think a lot of guys that were keen on trying had a chance to try it out probably a couple of months after we've seen the footage coming out. So it's pretty exciting to jump into it.
And that was it for me. I forget what year it was. I think I started my foiling journey on the board about 2-3 years ago, but it was that footage from Kai. That man's got a lot to answer for. He's been an inspiration. One minute he's on his 14-foot race board, and the next minute he had literally a saw. He was cutting it in half, and then he was going again, and I think that's it. But interestingly, tapping straight into it, because I mean, I think as we've come into it, the types and the styles of downwinding, there's different disciplines even within just downwinding now, because both of you guys have just mentioned there, highlighted, and let's expand on that. The speed of the South Mediterranean options there, because obviously when the wind blows, just how fast it goes. We've seen what you've been recording down there, Richard. 100 kilometers in 4 hours. Averaging 25 clicks an hour. I mean, that's super quick. How? And this is a question to both of you. Within the downwinding, where's your focus right now? Is it speed runs? Is it or is it cruising the race, linking it in together with the light stuff, or will you just take it as it comes? Where's your area of interests? And Eric, I'll start that off with you.
Okay. For me right now, the focus is speed, and that's only just because we got all these races coming up. But that's never going to be the end goal. It's more feel and turns. Basically the biggest thing is ripping downwind and cranking turns as hard as you can and nobody around. So that's always going to be the end goal, and finding the wing that allows you to do that and efficiently. But right now it's more towards race wings and races coming up, which I'm stoked for, because I feel like that's going to get more and more people into it and really grow the sport.
Okay, and then so Richard, expand on that bit, because I see there's some racing being advertised. That must be some of the first downwinding racing, organised racing down in the Mediterranean right now, isn't it?
No, well, actually, the weird thing is that there's actually not so many races organized yet in Mediterranean, even if the conditions are great for it. So most of the races that are coming up now are actually in Hawaii, because there's a big downwinding culture there since day one. On the canoe, on the OCs, and regular prone paddle and standard paddle also. So obviously foiling got invited to it a couple of years ago now. But I'm sure there's going to be more and more races pretty much all over the world. I have no doubt about that, because foiling, I think, allows racing to be, I would say, much more fun than on a regular SUP or something like that, because it's going to be faster. You could go longer distances. You end up like doing quite a lot of turns, so you could kind of mix the whole racy part of it to a bit of a surfy part of it too. So I think that's the beauty of downwinding on the foils. It's like you end up looking for the right bumps, making some turns to find them and to get the right power at the right time, and the whole reading of the bumps is going to be basically allowed because of the way you're going to use those slopes and stuff like that, and you're going to have to do some practical turn basically on it. So I think that's the beauty of it. And just to give you my feedback on what kind of downwinding I'm looking for, is like, obviously depending on conditions, and as Eric was saying, there's a big focus on being fast at the moment, because it's always interesting to find out how fast can you go. Which at first, for sure, there's going to be some fast condition and some pretty slow condition too, but the amount of efficiency we get from the foil now is allowing us to actually go much faster than I think most of us would have thought a couple of months ago. So that's the interesting part, especially because those fast foil are still turny enough to make them fun, and to have a blast riding them, actually, whether you're racing or if you're not racing too, basically. So main difference between doing a fast run racing and a fast run without racing is a fast run without racing, you're going to end up doing more distances, basically, because you're probably going to do more turns instead of going nice and straight, So that's the difference between wanting to get to A to B the fastest time, instead of wanting to go from A to B with the fastest average speed. I would say, you could go average speed pretty fast while still doing a bigger distances than what you could have done. So there's quite a lot of topics you could explore on the downwind run. You could make them super surfy and trying to crank the best turn of your life pretty much on the whole run, or you could try to go as straight as possible and as fast as possible to beat your best time, or you could also try to beat your fastest K or something like that, and that would
or
be
your best friend next to you.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a quite vast vast option actually to explore on the downwind run. That's probably what makes it probably really hard to get bored with it, I would say.
Yeah. So
yeah.
let's expand, because we'll also go back to how to get to that point of charging, because obviously you guys are both at the skill levels now where you can very comfortably push at both ends of the scale, whether it be carving or flat out speed. But then interestingly there, Richard, and Eric, I mean, you said about you can just literally be racing against the guy on your shoulder. So when on your sessions, who's your crew back, your downwind crew? Are you solo? Are you is there a few of you together? What's your average session like?
For me?
Yeah.
Basically we got a pretty solid crew over here on Oahu, and then Maui's got, I feel like, maybe even bigger crew over there. But we got on the south side, we got the Voyagers, and they're all doing whether it's prone downwind runs, coastal runs, or we got the stand-up crew. I feel like more and more people are starting to get into that, because guys are wanting to get longer and longer runs, because they're doing these 2 or 3 mile prone runs, or some, I think 4, and they're having so much fun cranking turns, and before you know it, it's done already, and they're just chasing that feeling of the smooth turns, and it's like snowboarding in a way. But so they're going to stand up so that there's no penalty for falling, and you can enjoy a longer run. And then on North Shore, we don't have that many guys on North Shore. Basically, I just got my good friend Aaron Evelyn. Me and him were learning the stand-up together and foiling in general together, and we really push each other and challenge each other a lot. And he's basically my go-to partner, and me and him basically do every run together.
Yeah. Nice. And then, did you get into it together as well? Was it a case of like, I'm going to do this? Are we doing it together?
It's funny. Aaron kind of always beats me to everything, whether it's other stuff that we do like filming and whatnot. But the way I got into it was I was filming a documentary for Robbie Nash, and Kai Lenny was in it too. And we're filming both of them in Chicama, and I was watching them foil, and I saw it on the internet, and I didn't, it was cool, but I wasn't like, oh, I gotta do this. But then when I saw it in person, I was like, this is the coolest sport. I'm gonna get into this when I get home. And next thing I know, Aaron has already got a used GoFoil at home, and I was like, oh, I saw him post it. I'm like, dude, I'm getting one too. And he's like, all right, let's go. So we basically learned together and kept going, and it just kept growing and growing, and we're still doing it, man. And since 2016, it's crazy.
How much of a motivator is it to have that partner in crime, as it were? That buddy. It's like the trainer in the gym, isn't it?
Paul, it's huge. It's huge. I feel like I wouldn't. Oh, sorry. You're chopping up a little.
No, you carry on.
Oh, what I was saying is, I feel like it's pretty important, because I don't feel like we would have progressed and gone as have if we didn't have that camaraderie or that community. I feel like on Oahu, so many guys are getting into it because we got the Voyagers in town, and it's funny, like you're becoming friends with people you never thought you would become friends with. You know, we got like 60-year-olds we're friends with. We got little 15-year-old kids we're friends with, you know, different professions, just people you never would hang out with. But foiling like totally brought us together, and the camaraderie is just insane. And that just stokes the fire, I want to say, or something like that. And it really pushes you to want to keep going. But definitely having Aaron as my partner pushed me, and we're so psyched on the sport that we're booking trips to Oregon, Hood River every year. We go every year because we love this sport so much, and we just push each other to go on these trips. So whether it's going to Maui, Hood River, and he came to the Mediterranean and foiled with us and Richard. So yeah, he's definitely my partner in crime.
And maybe France now is another go-to on the flight, on the flight air miles. Yeah.
Yeah, the boys are saying that's the next voyage. So there's going to be more guys coming for sure.
Awesome. And then Richard, I know that again from your posts, you've got a very talented crew down in the south of France there as well. How important has that been to you, and did that help you with your journey?
Oh yeah, it's huge. I mean, I think the best way to describe it is like there's a lot of days where the conditions are going to be more or less challenging, you know, and if you don't have somebody on your side, you know, to push you when you're maybe kind of hesitating to go or whatever, I mean, that's going to be the best way. So I'm a pretty keen person, so I'm always the one pushing for it and making sure that we're going to try it out, even if it looks shitty. But yeah, no, it's really important, and also to be able to share some experiences, like regarding equipment, board choice, foil choice, obviously, and compare how is it going to feel on the water, you know, on the same type of conditions and stuff like that, you know. So there's a big camaraderie, I would say, in the south of France for that, and I'm foiling with quite a few guys from the same crew, pretty much in different places in the south of France, from around Perpignan area, where we meet the guy, Brothers of Ride, and Tommy, obviously, there, to Matthew, my friend Matthew around Marseille area, and then obviously to Didier and Matt and Nico and all those guys, and David from my place in Sifour. So yeah, plenty of places, and there's obviously Victor now, my friend Victor from here, who's getting fully into it now also on the other side, plus some other guys towards the Italian border also. So yeah, plenty of enthusiastic people to share some downwind run with, and obviously the fact that the gear is evolving that much makes it even more and more interesting, because we are managing now some more distances, faster runs, so we could do more and more, basically, miles or Ks or whatever on the water, you know, without spending too much time. Because I think at first, one of the first things that kind of get people maybe a bit scared about getting into downwinding is like it's kind of on and off. Either you fly and you're having a blast, or if you're not flying, you're getting really slow all of a sudden. So you know, to make sure that your timing is right. So now most of us are pretty sure to have a good downwind run as soon as the conditions are decent. So we kind of know now exactly for how much time are we going or not, you know, so more or less. So a bit less of a mystery, but still always fun.
Look, and let's expand on that point. So I think we're all agreed, because I agree with you, Eric, as well. The joy of what I find myself in is that actually the social group we're connected with is hugely wide. You know, from teenagers, I think conditions to quite a lot of guys.
Cutting a bit, Paul.
Yeah, Paul, you're cutting out pretty bad, just to let you know. But I kind of.
The cloud, that's why.
The rural area he's in.
He is. So what has your last run been looking like, Eric?
Yeah, past couple days I've been doing some prone runs on the North Shore with some of the boys out here, and just little 2-mile downwinders, prone and chip shot and kick out and start going. And then the wind's kind of been bad lately, so it was mainly like convection winds from the island heating up. But a week before that, when I got back from the trip, did a couple Hawaii kai runs with the boys on the south side, and we had it pretty good, so that was fun. There hasn't been any wind since I left, huh?
No, it's crazy. I mean, it's not common at all, actually, to have no wind like that for a while. It's really weird. So yeah, I've been going to the southwest of France actually for surfoiling, windfoiling for a couple of days, luckily. But yeah, it's been super quiet wind-wise, like in the south of France.
Yeah.
So
what's it? It look like anything's on the radar?
Couple of days, but pretty light. So there's not going to be any exciting condition for quite a while. It's like pretty much switching to summertime weather. Even if in summer you could have some good wind still, but it's less likely basically. And yeah, it's gone full on summer now. So I look forward for the wind to come back.
Look, guys,
we got you.
Oh yeah, okay. Look, for us as well, expanding on where we're going with it. The temperatures are only just getting warmer here in the UK, and I think now there's going to be everyone's been watching the developments a lot, and I think over the summer a lot of the guys are going to be now hitting the water. So with your experience, easy ways, easy steps, if you could give the guys three easy steps to make your journey easier and to start your journey, because I think sometimes there's quite a mental barrier of actually just starting it. 3 easy tips to get going. Eric, you start us off. What do you think?
I mean, man, it's only gotten easier. You don't have to suffer as much as everyone else did before, but one is just start with a larger foil for sure. Just do yourself a favor, do a larger foil, but please don't slam your mast too far forward, because you're gonna lift out of the water too soon and you're gonna get super frustrated. Trust me, I've been there. 2, a narrower board, narrow and long board with more leaders than you would think. And if you are like, oh, I don't want to spend a lot of money on that board and then I want to go smaller, because you're gonna want to go smaller, then you're gonna have to suffer a little and go with a smaller board. But in the end, that's gonna be your goal and where you're gonna go. And then the biggest thing is technique, hands down. Go practice in the surf before doing a downwinder. Go practice in some flat water. Don't go and just try to do a downwinder. Practice in the surf first. Yeah. And technique.
Very good. Thank you. Richard?
Yeah, pretty much what Eric said. Like I think practicing on the flat is a key point. A lot of guys are jumping straight away into it without having much SUP experience. Obviously, when you're getting into a downwinding environment, that's going to be a bit shaky on the water. So you have to make sure that you're going to feel kind of comfortable on the board, at least on the flat, to make sure that you could handle a bit of a choppier water, where the balance is going to be a bit more challenging. And yeah, as Eric was saying, like a big foil, go as big as you need at first, as you can at first, until you get this pop-up technique. Okay, once you're able to fly for quite a while, and when pop-up technique or pop-up ability is not an issue anymore, then you could drop size on foil and get into more efficient foil. Obviously, always keep quite a bit of span on your foil. Obviously, you don't want to go small size, medium aspect foil. You want to go high aspect if you switch for smaller foil. And yeah, longer and narrower birds, obviously. Don't even think about trying downwinding without a downwind board. It's exactly like playing tennis with a baseball bat, something like that. That's not going to work, you know. So it's going to take a while. We've been doing that, so that's why it's probably quite funny now. But back then, that was the thing, you know, where there was no downwind board until quite a few months, quite a few years now. So obviously, starting with the downwind board is essential, no doubt about it. And yeah, trying to get the good conditions. Some places are easier than others, obviously. You don't want to go into huge swells straight away. There's no point in doing that. That's going to be way more challenging compared to quite a few people are thinking. Big swell are not easier for downwinding. Medium-sized swell, I would say, short period waves are the ideal. So if you get a chance to have some decent wind, at least 20 knots, the ideal. And again, if you have a chance to avoid any mixed swell, ideally, the more swell is in line of the wind, easier it's going to get. So there's going to be some more or less challenging conditions. Obviously, those challenging conditions are easy to deal with for somebody who's going to have some quite a bit of experience. No problem with that. There's no size of swell limitation or wind strength, or it could be light or strong or whatever. When you get experience, it's fine. Without experience, obviously, you want to make it easier for yourself. So you need to tick off the boxes to make it an accessible sport. And I think just to cap on that, like it could be challenging, and sometimes that's probably why it's so exciting. On the other hand, you know, because obviously there's quite a bit of knowledge that you get on the go, and the reading of the water and the bumps and stuff like that is not something that's going to come in a minute. That's going to take you a few runs to understand how it goes, and the more experience you have, the easier it's going to get, and the less physically taxing it's going to get also. So at some point you will have the choice on making your run heavily physical or not at all, depending on what gear you're going to choose and what type of conditions you're going to get into also.
Yeah. And I think 2 points I'd like to highlight from both your conversations there. Eric, for you, it's the bite-sized chunks. You know, downwinders don't have to be the 100-kilometer missions that Richard's doing there. You know, 1-2 kilometers, those little out and back. So we had a very good downwinding seminar from Glenn Eldridge in the UK recently, and even just describing the out and backs, you know, you paddle out in onshore windy conditions, you just paddle out flat and then get your chip in and come back and make it so it's accessible. And also the difference between wind chop and swell, and with wind chop being so much slower than ground swell, it's actually easier to get that takeoff. And I think it's just trying to make sure we highlight the accessibility, and actually we, you know, make it easy. And I think, you know, once the barriers are down, again, combined with the good equipment we've got now, once the barriers are dropping and it's easier to get into, we'll see more people join the crew. It's great. So with that as well, the evolution, where do you see it going in the next 2 to 3 years? Because I mean, we're talking about months gains at the moment. Where do you see it going in 2 or 3 years?
Honestly, I feel like we're at a peak almost. It's hard to fathom it getting any better, man. Guys are gonna, I mean, it will improve. It doesn't need to. People are gonna enjoy the sport as it is right now. But then I was saying that a year ago, you know, and just this past year, we've seen such a progress in technology. So I don't know, man. I don't know where it's gonna go, but I'm having fun. I'm telling you that with how it is right now. So.
Well, maybe where it's going.
Sorry, Paul, you're breaking up super bad, but Richard, I feel like you can touch on this a lot better than me. You're the tech guy.
Yeah, I guess the gear and the whole technique and the knowledge that we have now makes it like probably way more accessible than before. So basically being able to ride some places where it was pretty much unrideable before. I would say going longer distances for the guys which feel like it, going faster for the guys which want to go for the fast run, shorter run, going even more surfing than before, going for new maneuvers and stuff on the water. There's plenty of topics I think to explore. And but I agree with you. Actually, it's that good. It was that good since day one. So it's pretty hard actually to see it differently in the future. It's just gonna get like faster, better turns, better everything.
Efficient, yeah. But it's funny, yeah. You can go for a foil that suits what you want. But I feel like like you're saying, they're getting so good that you can use one foil for almost everything.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Yeah, performances have gone that big that it's gone almost more around also in the same way. That's the strange bit about it, because those new HA foil that we have, they're actually pretty turny on a downwind still, even if actually they were not made to be that turny. But I really enjoyed them in downwind run because they glide that
even with such a wide span.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really pretty surprising. Actually, there's been a lot of good surprises about this sport for sure. But yeah, just to come back on the accessibility part of it, like obviously doing short runs is essential, and we've been doing a few short runs also ourselves recently, to try out the gear and everything. So that's something that's always an option to keep in mind, actually, to do a short run, to try and challenge yourself with some smaller gear and things like that.
Yeah, that's a good tip right there. If you are testing new equipment, do not do a long run, man. I've have so many friends that have suffered doing this, and including myself. So if you're dialing in your gear or you're not sure what it's going to do a short run. Don't do a long run.
Yeah, we always keep this option of going short to try out the gear and make sure the setup is good. Then after, try it again maybe on the longer run. But so obviously for beginning, short runs are ideal because you're not going to suffer from a super long paddle if you're not being able to pop up. And obviously the more explosiveness you've got with you, the more likely you will pop up. So on the long run, if you know that you got a really long way to go, that's kind of tricky to keep in mind to get this explosiveness still ready for pop up if you got 10 more Ks to go or whatever. So yeah, I think the length of the run is a key factor for keeping on improving, keeping on challenging yourself, on trying some new gear, new board, new foil, new everything basically, and also to try out some runs in condition which looks maybe almost too challenging in a way. Could be almost too light. If you go super light condition plus super long run, that's going to be a harsh one. So obviously, like, always keep this option of checking the right length of run, depending on what the conditions are like. How much time do you have for yourself also for a run? If you're aiming for a pretty long run in challenging condition, and you know that you need to be somewhere in 2 hours.
We've all been there.
Oh yes, big time.
Especially when you have a friend with you and you're like waiting. You're like, oh, I'm sorry, man. I got to go. See ya. Paul, you back with us?
I'm here. And that's it. I think also as well, it's that thing of, in your mind, separating into two sections, learning the technique and learning in the environment. It's being confident. I think once we learn the technique and we're happy with actually getting up on foil and going, and then you can then you can you enjoy more the journeying, because when you find yourself offshore, you are seriously offshore. Now, if you find yourself offshore and you're still learning, that's really quite intimidating. So those short runs, I think, are really super invaluable to bring your game up to a point where you're confident to start to go further and be more exposed. I think and making sure that enjoyment process, so it's not intimidating, it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, look, any final words of advice to our audience out here on? And I'm really pleased that both of you, Eric, the best sport ever, and Richard, you're saying this, and it is, and that's the enjoyable thing for us all, isn't it? That's quite a bold claim from someone who lives in such an amazing place.
It is, yeah.
Any final words? Any final words of advice for anyone?
I mean, the thing is, if you're thinking about getting into sport, I recommend just going for it. I feel like it's such a shame that there's so many awesome watermen out there that this era of this evolution of water sports is just outside of their window, and you should just think of it that way, of you have this opportunity to experience one of the best sports in the world, in my opinion, and you're healthy and strong, you should be going for it and doing it, and the process is super rewarding. I feel like that was the funnest part for me, was the growth of the sport, and all those humble pies and getting frustrated and making goals and achieving them, and having friends come along the journey with you, and looking to people for inspiration. I feel like that's the best part, and if you can get into the sport, do it, because you're definitely not going to regret it, and you're going to go full chronic on it for about 6 months to maybe a year, and then it'll just be another option depending on the conditions.
Absolutely, Eric. I have to agree with you on that. And just to add something on it, like if you're not fit yet, that's probably the best way to get fit anyway. So that's a demanding sport, and the physical aspect is something that is part of it, especially at first. I would say if you go for challenging condition and things like that, if you want to make it less physical, it's also an option. It's actually pretty easy to make it not that physically taxing if you go short run with the right gear and the right condition. But it's obviously something where I've never been that focused on my fitness level because of downwinding, basically. And I think it got me fit, and I wanted to make sure I eat right, that I do the right things to make sure that I'm going to be efficient on the water, that I could create success, basically. And even in challenging condition, now it's less and less physically taxing. That's why we could go longer runs and things like that. The great part about downwinding, and for those guys who are surfing and winging or whatever, is like the fact that there's never going to be too much crowd on the water, So you will always have your space on the water to make sure that you're going to have a great run. You could share with as many people as you want without having the issue of being too many people on the water, and that's the magic.
It's funny you say that, because you want more people to be around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the playground is so big.
Yeah,
you're looking for a friend to experience it with you.
Exactly. So that's I love this sport. Probably a good part of it is because of that, and I know it's going to be the same, even if it's super crowded in 10 years or whatever. It's never going to be too crowded so the crowd is not an issue, and I think for us guys coming from whatever surfing background or other things like that, crowd could be sometimes a bit stressful, you know, especially if you put yourself into what the future holds and stuff like that. And downwinding is a great escape for this kind of thing. It's humbling. You get into a bit further away from the shoreline, but that makes it interesting. You need to focus way more than for some other activities, I think. So, and just have a touch on the winging. Obviously, winging is a good way also to get some experience into riding this windsurf.
So,
so obviously, get a go on it if you don't have a chance to go downwinding on the SUP at first. That's going to be also a good way actually to experiment some new gear. I would say, Eric, I always do that. And I take my downwind board too.
Are you doing it with the stand-up board you're going to use? You wing with that? Yeah.
Even for sometimes even 5 minutes, I'm just going to go and check if everything seems all right, and then I go after it. So it's good to get the whole the right angle for the foil and the right shimming for the stab. If you're trying something kind of a bit dodgy or whatever, you could make sure that it's kind of working before you go for a proper run. And
for sure,
that's a good way to do it. And I'm planning on doing some more like upwind on the wing and packing and going downwind with the wing in the backpack, like for next windy days. So
it saves the trouble with the carpooling.
Yeah, it does. Good to have
man, but hey, we're in an exciting time, dude, and I feel like this is the year where foiling is really gonna grow, and we got all these contests coming up next month. Actually, sorry, it's starting late next month, but July is really when all the contests are happening. But if people don't know, there's in late June there's a Voyager foiling contest on the south side of Oahu, and that one's from China Walls to Kaimana Beach, so basically the Hawaii Kai run, about 8 miles. And then they're gonna have on Maui, Maui to Molokai race, and I'm hoping you come, Richard, because man, you're putting out some fast speeds, dude. You're averaging like 29 kilometers an hour, and I believe when I looked at your times, you had one at 31 kilometers. You had a kilometer stretch, right? That was 31 kilometers an hour, something like that. And you're a weapon, dude, so it'd be cool if you came out for that. And then after that, everyone's shooting it over to Oregon, Hood River.
I'll be there for sure.
For the gorge race, and then come back, and then it's the big Molokai to Oahu. So jam-packed, and everyone gonna come together. It's gonna be fun, and some really good stuff coming out, I feel like.
Looking forward for that, Eric.
It's gonna be so fun, man. I'm excited. We just need wind. Pray for wind.
I know. I'm gonna come back, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, Eric. It was nice chatting to you.
You too.
Paula's gone somewhere, so I'm sure we'll deal with stuff.
He's in the wilderness. Something came and got him.
He is. So let's keep each other posted on the gear and everything, and we'll chat soon.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cheers, Eric. Bye-bye.
Right on.
See you.
Thank you.
See you.
Good.